I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. Having never been to Alaska before, this adventure was all about exploring some of the neat things to see in the city of Anchorage and the surrounding area. Joining some friends to spend some time downtown, getting to ride some of the only coasters available in the entire state, and enjoying some of the natural wonders the area has to offer. Before this journey, Alaska was one of only 5 states I had yet to visit, with Nebraska, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Rhode Island remaining. When the Alaska State Fair announced their 2021 edition would feature the arrival of their first permanent roller coaster that would stay on site year-round, like the Wildcat at the Washington State Fair, I began looking into some potential options for a visit that year. But a combination of my regular days off not aligning with the days of the fair, and rental cars in Anchorage being over $1,000 for 2 or 3 days, I'd have to put this trip on the back burner until I was on another trip. If you recall from the East Coast trip for Stumble 325, I went to my friend Rick's house for some extra sleep after being delayed and rerouted to get to Washington Dulles. After I woke up, he took a lunch break from work and we talked about how he and Keith made plans to go to Alaska for this year's fair. Thanks to having a different set of days off, it would work out for me to be able to join them and gain a very rare coaster credit. Or so we thought, but we'll get to that later. We did have some slightly different itineraries, as we would all fly in the same day, but they would fly out the following evening, while I stayed for an extra day, since I'd have a relatively easy journey home. The flight I booked to Anchorage allowed me to head out shortly after work, although it was a bit tight because of having to drive through Seattle, park, and take the shuttle. Luckily, it worked out as I hoped. So seeing as how this is the first time I'm going to the state of Alaska and I'm going by plane, it only makes sense to fly with Alaska Airlines for the flight home. Yeah, I'm actually going up with Delta because it was a little bit cheaper for the flight up with Delta than it is for the flight back with Alaska, but Alaska had the better deal coming back. So it ended up being one of those split airline situations. So a little bit awkward to be flying to Alaska, not with Alaska Airlines, but I think we'll be okay. Taking off toward the south gave another opportunity to see the likes of Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, and Mount St. Helens of the Cascades. But since we turned to the northwest, we enjoyed views of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge from an angle I hadn't seen before, and it provided my first experience flying over the Olympic Mountains. I also enjoyed the sights of the Strait of Juan de Fuca and Vancouver Island as we continued toward British Columbia and the southeast panhandle of Alaska. Approaching Anchorage gave the first of several incredibly scenic views of the Alaskan landscape, with this view also featuring Cook Inlet. Arriving to Ted Stevens Airport, there's a lot of locally inspired displays throughout the facility, including a lot of sculptures and artwork, showcases the state's wildlife, and seaplanes that would help serve the more coastal remote towns, along with collections of items from the native Alaskan tribes, including clothing, toys, and tools. When I booked the rental car, it was significantly cheaper than what it would have been the year before, especially because of a mystery vehicle special. What I didn't expect, though, was for the mystery vehicle to be a Toyota Tundra. I'm glad I drive buses for a living because this is a massive truck, much larger than my Elantra back home, but kind of fits because of going into the last frontier of Alaska. I did see a lot of trucks there, likely because of the winter weather this area can experience. I will say though, the last frontier sure makes for a pretty drive. It's easy to see why people enjoy visiting. And after a night at the Eagle River Hotel I booked, I'd be ready to explore more of it. After picking up Rick and Keith, we kicked off our day of exploring and coaster riding with a visit to downtown Anchorage, wandering the city's main street of 4th Avenue. This is where you can find the visitor center for information of things to do and the starting point of their trolley tour. Further down 4th Avenue is the location of the starting line for major dog sled races, including Iditarod and Fur Rondy. This spot is marked by the racing dog statue, and the building beside the statue was the first ever building in Anchorage, which today serves as the Dog Mushing Hall of Fame. One of the Information Center employees told us we should stop by the White Spot Cafe further down 4th Avenue for breakfast. This seemed like the kind of place that some of the locals would visit regularly, and it was easy to understand why when trying their biscuits and gravy platter. The biscuits had a nice crispiness to it, and the gravy a little extra spice, making for a delicious first meal of the day. After our morning city exploration, we made the roughly hour-long drive to Palmer for the Alaska State Fair. And because of the surrounding mountains, this may go down as one of the most scenic locations for a fairground. We found the entrance to be a bit backed up, potentially because of it being Buddy Day, where admission and rides were buy one, get one free. Even with it being 3 of us, it was nice to split the savings from the promotion. Like many fairs you'll find across the United States, there were a number of local vendors offering a variety of crafts, goods, and foods to fairgoers. You could also see a variety of farm animals, but of course, it was the Golden Wheel Amusements operated carnival that gave the primary motivation for our visit, especially for that lone permanent coaster in the state. We didn't go to that one first though. Rather, we kicked off our coaster riding with one of the portable coasters provided by Golden Wheel, the Wacky Worm, which felt appropriate for the 3 of us since we've gone for some real shameless coasters in our travels. So the thing about that particular coaster is that got this guy one step closer to a monumental moment in his coaster riding career, because he's about to get 1800. And what ride would be a better choice for a milestone coaster? He purposely skipped other fairs closer to home, which had coasters that would have increased his count, so that this Galaxy-style coaster from Interpark Rides, Aftershock, could be number 1,800. But it turned out that it actually wasn't. We found out that there was an error because it turns out this coaster previously operated at America's Fun Park
in Branson, Missouri.
So that means his 1800 is not on the Galaxy coaster, rather it's going to be on an Orient Express. This certainly wasn't the 1800th coaster that Rick had hoped for, especially since he could have just stayed closer to home and ridden other carnival coasters he skipped if he knew this was going to be the case. With the coasters of the fair ridden, there was still time to spare before Rick and Keith's evening flight, so we returned to Anchorage for some more exploring. Off of K Street is the Voyages of Captain Cook, a statue that features scale versions of the vessels that were part of the Pacific expeditions of Captain James Cook, including his flagship, the HMS Resolution. The statue sits across the street from the Hotel Captain Cook, which is designated as a Historic Hotel of America. This luxury hotel offers a historic decor and large collection of artwork portraying Captain Cook and his journeys. And several shops offer a variety of art, including those with local Alaska inspiration. Anchorage's coastal location is further celebrated on the western wall of JCPenney along East Street through a mural by the artist Wyland, featuring species of whales found in the nearby waters. Down along Delaney Park, you can see the historic steam engine 556 of the Alaska Railroad, one of many engines built in the 1940s for wartime service, 12 of which were brought to Alaska to serve routes between Seward, Anchorage, and Fairbanks. Also in the vicinity of Delaney Park is the home of a rather famous resident, the mascot of Anchorage, Star the Reindeer. As we still had a few more hours before Rick and Keith needed to be at the airport, we took a short scenic drive down the Seward Highway along Turnagain Arm, which offered some phenomenal views. We made a stop at Beluga Point, where you could take in the sights of the interior side of Kenai Peninsula. While the views are amazing, it was a bit harder to get photos and video due to some fairly strong winds. Going further down the highway, we discovered another stop at Falls Creek, which was one of several falls along the highway. This one offers a trail that continues alongside the creek where additional falls can be discovered. For our last stop together, we enjoyed a meal at Alaskan Burgers and Brew, a cozy place where you can enjoy one of several specialty burgers and sandwiches, as well as a selection of craft beers and ciders from local producers, of which included King Street Brewing, a local Anchorage craft brewery that made an excellent Hefeweizen. This was certainly a nice way to end our time in Anchorage together, as Rick and Keith would continue on to California from here, while I'd stick around for one more day to enjoy a few more sights and have some surprise encounters before heading home. Thank you for watching this Coasting with Culture video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button below to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.